Test. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, I think we're good to go. Just wanted to make this short video about my podcast. People were asking questions about how I made it, and just questions in general about the project. So I just figured I'd make this condensed video to kind of wrap up all those questions. And the project is called Moscovium. It's going to be the first episode in a series of mystery stories that I'm making for my art called Merdova Mysteries. So check it out, Instagram. Yeah, so basically I'll just tell you how this whole project came to be and how it started out. So I used to listen to this series on the radio with my siblings called Mystery Radio or Mystery Theater Radio or something like that. I think they stopped broadcasting it, but me and my siblings just loved it. We would listen to it like every now and then on like Sunday nights. Like we would just all get together in the family room and turn off all the lights and just like kind of listen to these awesome stories. They're really impressive. They were made in like the 70s and the 80s, and just like the attention to detail in their stories was really cool. Like they would have, the stepping of footsteps on the wood floors and the opening of doors and closing of doors and just all types of textures to kind of put yourself in like their world. I kind of was just like, man, I want to do something like that too. And that's kind of how this whole idea came about. I started a kind of improvised mystery story by myself, and I just had like a synthesizer in the background just to create like some mysterious feels, and it was stupid. Like the story ended up being garbage and I just scrapped the whole thing. But the next day my cousin Jason came over and I told him about it, and he was pretty excited about it, and I was like, hey, maybe we could like do this thing for real and like actually script out a story, have music in the background, and have that kind of texture and stuff that mystery theater had, and we can do it right, and it would be cool. And so we got super excited and we started spitballing ideas, and this one idea came up. I had watched this documentary called Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers. So it's basically about Bob Lazar, and if you don't know who Bob Lazar is, he's a super cool guy who used to work at S4, which is a subdivision of Area 51. It's not too far away from Area 51. He worked on reverse engineering these flying saucers, or allegedly worked on it. This podcast isn't to say like flying saucers are real or I believe in aliens or whatever. It was just kind of like a spin-off of what he was talking about in that series, and mostly about this one element in particular called element 115, and it's I think its element name is Moscovium, our synthesized version that like humans were actually able to create, and it's called that because it was first synthesized in Moscow, Russia. It's not really like the real stuff. It's only got a half-life of like milliseconds, so the stabilized version of this stuff is what these flying saucers are supposed to have in them. And basically what it does is this element that you place in this nuclear reactor, and it turns on this nuclear reactor. And when the element is exposed to radiation, it creates a warp in time and space. And whatever object is like directly in front of that falls into time and space. And that's basically how the flying saucers work. Super interesting because like there's no engines or anything on their aircraft, and there's no like wires or pistons or anything connecting all these different components, and they kind of just work like codependently. It's almost like magic. So I was like, man, this would be a really cool idea, have our story be based around this element. And so basically it's about these two college students who find this element, and they kind of have their little adventure with trying to put this trace amount of the element in this prototype, and then a whole bunch of stuff goes wrong. I'll let you listen to the story to get the full kind of picture of it, but it was super fun to work on. Really, really fun to work with my cousin Jason. Him and I kind of came up with a story. Basically, came up with it in a couple of hours. Like, we just took one night where we were just like, well, what if it was about this, and what if this happened? And it was just super fun and really, really creative. Yeah, I just really appreciated how we were willing to let each other's ideas like hold weight. And we argued a little bit, but it was only about like the ideas being good or not. I really appreciated like that creative process. It like just got me super into the possibilities of making more of these stories. So, which I am going to do. That's one of the reasons I'm making this video, is to ask you guys to give me to critique me a little bit and critique the video and the work, and like if you think anything should have been done differently, or if you liked anything about it, just let me know in the comments of the video, or just send me a message on Instagram. Hopefully you get inspired, or some of you out there get inspired to like make your own podcast. That would be super cool if like someone messaged me and they're like, hey man, I love the story and like decided to make my own. Like, if you need any help with like what DAW to use, digital audio workstation, I'll kind of put in my 2 cents. Like, they're all good, but some of them, like, I use Logic Pro X and it's awesome. It just made this whole project super easy. So I love Logic. But Pro Tools is out there. It's super good. You could even use Audacity, which is a free audio software. Ableton is great. Like Reaper. There's so many good ones out there. But yeah, anyways, getting back to it. Jason came over. We kind of made some idea bubbles, or whatever you call it, idea diagrams, and kind of came up with a story. And then I wrote out the script. That took the most time, I would say. It's just like coming up with the script and really diving into our characters and what their kind of mannerisms were, kind of getting it into their heads and getting a mind for what they talk like and decisions they make and all that. So it was super fun to work on that. This right here, I know you can't really see it very well, but this is the project. So this is Moscovium. It took about 3 months from start to finish to get it to where it is right now, which is the final product. This is a collapsed version. So just to give you kind of a reference, from start to end, that's about a half hour. And these bars in the middle, I know you can't really see them. This bar right here is actually 2 bars, and that's Jason and my audio, and that's our character's audio, and it kind of goes throughout the whole thing. But everything above it, all this stuff up here, that's all music. And then everything below it down here, this is all sound effects. You can see like it takes a long time. You got to go in, and we sampled everything minus like a couple things. We actually went outside and did the footsteps. We came inside, did footsteps on hardwood floor. We opened and closed doors. We ran outside in the gravel. We sampled a whole bunch of stuff. The hazmat suit is just like a rain coat that we had. I think it was my dad's or something. We just zipped it up and zipped it down and kind of sampled all that audio and bounced it straight into the session. So it's like what you're hearing is just is real things that we did. It just kind of adds to the overall like feel of the story, and it's just like super organic because they're real sounds, and like we really went out and performed those sounds, and it was super fun. And like, yeah, it just kind of got me really inspired to do more of these. I'm working on another one right now, so stay tuned for that. Probably we'll see that in like 3 months, because these things take a lot, like they take a long time. Like I want to make sure they're done right. I don't want to rush it and like just put out garbage. Like I want to put out something that's actually like cool and inspires people, and like, yeah, I just want people to listen to this like after they get done with work, get a glass of wine or like a glass of whiskey or something, and just kick up your feet and turn off the lights and kind of just zone out a little bit, or maybe like, yeah, you could have it put on even in the background. Like, I don't care. Look at your phone and like play with games or whatever. Like, it's just a cool story. We didn't take it super seriously. There's a little bit of comedy in there, but it's at its core, it's a mystery story. So it's supposed to be like a little bit suspenseful and a little bit exciting. And I think we achieved some of that, at least. Yeah, it was super fun to work on. I definitely want to give special thanks to a few people. Jason Melnick, first of all, because his ideas and his hard work on this project definitely couldn't have done it without him. He added a lot, came over on weekends to record with me, and, it was super awesome. We just drank wine and turn off the lights and set up the mics and started recording, and it was awesome. Let's see, Ricky Ralston, he's actually this thing going up on in the background. I'm actually watching him Twitch stream editing the video for Moscovium, which is super awesome that he would do that for me. Like, he's just, cinematography is kind of his thing, but he's just a whiz at it. He's a master. He just goes off, and so I'm kind of like leaving that whole thing up to him, and he's doing a great job with it. And he also voiced the TA, so he did some voice acting on it and did a great job. Let's see, my cousin Kevin Melnick, we got him in on this, which was awesome because he lives in Mexico and he was only in Seattle for like a few weeks. So it was really cool that we got him in on this, and he plays a therapist, so he killed it. He starts out and ends the whole entire series, so good job, Kevin. Sydney Kramer, she came up with this awesome freaking artwork that's kind of like you'll see in the video. It's the overarching piece that kind of just encompasses the whole story. I gave her like very few details of what I wanted. I was just like, okay, like this is what the characters are wearing, this is what's happening, this is where they are, go for it. And she came up with this dope painting, and it took her a long time. She worked really hard on it, so yeah, thank you, Sydney. And then my buddy Isaac, my good buddy Isaac, he also came up with artwork, and he killed it. He actually runs a comic book club at his college. He's really good at like drawing comics, so he drew a comic book sketch of the story. I gave him very few details too, and he just went off and came up with something awesome. Just really cool how like people wanted to contribute to the project and add in their talents, and just it was really cool to see it all come together. So I'm super grateful for how it turned out. I worked really hard on it too, like obviously, but it was like just fun all the way through. Like there was never a dull moment. I never felt like this is kind of boring. Like there's challenges for sure. Like I had like a ton of really specific questions, and I would just like look something up, and there would already be 100 videos of that specific thing online, and so it was really easy to find what I needed. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Just thank you to everyone who worked on this project. It was super fun. Yeah, we'll have more soon to come. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for watching the video, guys.